You know, I don't really get the Japanese fascination with robots and mechs. I mean, I kinda get it. I mean, robots blowing shit up, that's cool, right? Except the Japanese take it to a different level that I really can't relate to. But that's okay, I don't have to relate to it as long as they keep pumping out awesome games. And today we're gonna play one of those awesome games, Metal Storm, until we win. Developed by Irene, Gravity Armor Metal Storm, as it's known in Japan, was a latecomer to the NES library and had an unconventional release schedule, by first being released in America in February of 1991, then released more than a full year later in Japan in April of 1992. Once again, though, us North American gamers were treated like second-class citizens to the almighty Japanese market, as the Japanese game is far more complete, offering an actual story to the game, including an opening sequence and additional narration before the final boss. Oddly enough, the opening sequence was included in the American release and can be accessed by entering a Game Genie or Pro Action Replay code. The game itself is amazing, as the happy video game nerd can attest. The controls and animations are fluid, and the game design itself is ingenious. You're a mech that can control gravity. This mechanic is exploited to its fullest potential, with entire levels dedicated to exploiting gravity. There's another neat feature in this game: no pits of instant death. Instead, when you fall off the bottom of the screen, you fall down from the top of the screen. This makes for some really interesting gameplay elements later on. Of course, there are instant death spikes. It is a Nintendo game after all. Staying alive in this one is actually kinda tricky, but there are some things you can do to extend your life. First and foremost, this game has unlimited continues, and continues start you from the beginning of the stage you died on, unless you're fighting a boss, in which case you start off on the stage prior to that boss. There's a time limit, but don't worry about it. Each stage has more than enough time for you to get through it. Combine that with your unlimited continues, and the time limit becomes more of a nuisance rather than a problem. Jumping and firing is smooth and natural in this game, but don't get too cocky. Getting hit once will blow up your mech. You can fire in 4 directions, up, down, left, and right. Being able to fire down and up helps a lot in this game, but also limits you since you can't crouch and fire to the left or right. The gravity mechanic is pretty awesome. Essentially, you're able to reverse gravity. If you press up and jump, you'll send gravity up, while down and jump will set gravity back to normal. Get used to how this works, because you'll have to abuse it to get past some of the harder sections of the game. There's a variety of power-ups in this game, and each of them offers a unique advantage. The shield gives you a shield in the direction you're facing. It blocks bullets and damages enemies, which means that if an enemy is strong enough, it could break through your shield and kill you. Armor is like a second chance. It gives you the ability to be hit once without blowing up. The second hit, however, will kill you. The gun power-up lets you fire a stronger version of your gun, and you'll need it to take on the later levels. The G power-up makes you invulnerable to all attacks while you're shifting gravity. It's really hard to make good use of this power-up unless you've got practice at it. Finally, there's the B and the C power-ups. B is just a bonus icon and gives you 5,000 points, and points in this game are useless since you don't get 1-ups with them, and the C icon clears the screen of all enemies. The problem is that the C icon really doesn't show up when there are enemies on the screen. Now, I'm not gonna lie here, the main game is stupid easy and should only take about half an hour to an hour to beat, and the bosses are a joke. That's why I'm not gonna waste my time with the normal game. Oh no, we're gonna be taking a look at expert mode. What's the difference between normal and expert? Well, quite a bit. For starters, every enemy takes double the amount of damage, which makes even the normal robots difficult to kill. Unlike normal mode, expert has a ton of enemies in each level. Instead of just 2 or 3 enemies you've got to deal with, the game throws 5 or 6 at you. It can get pretty hectic. Timing in each level is changed completely. Enemies and obstacles move faster, throwing your timing off. Enemies that didn't fire at you before will, so be careful when you're running through each level thinking you're gonna be fine. The bosses go from being a joke to being ridiculously unstoppable. You get less time per level than you would on normal mode, so sticking around to try and figure out a problem might not be in your best interest. So just how do you get through this game on expert? Well, it's a lot of work, but just remember, like a lot of the great platformers of the NES era, this is more of a puzzle you need to figure out, rather than an action game you need to shoot your way through. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the levels. Level 1-1 is your basic stuff. up until you get to the flamethrowers. This part is just nasty. You'll face 8 flamethrowers in one large turret. Take out the flamethrowers one by one using gravity to your advantage to avoid getting roasted to death. Getting past the orange crate and the shooting turret is going to be tricky because of the flamethrower. There's a thrower right behind the turret, so if you spend too much time on the ceiling, he'll kill you. But the turret will also fire bullets at you. So how do you survive? Well, you have to act quick. Carefully take out the flamethrower first, then quickly jump down to take out the turret. After that, you'll move on to 1-2, and let me tell you, you will need the armor upgrade here because you have to run through a gauntlet. This thing is unholy. I don't know what's worse, the number of flamethrowers you have to get by, or the one turret that will kill you over and over again. Getting through this section is a matter of trial and error. First, flip up and take out the 2 turrets on the ceiling, then take out the rest on the floor. From there, make your way down and hang under the center platform to take out the central turret and more flamethrowers. From there, you should be able to move forward, slowly taking out flamethrowers one by one. The next part is a bit tricky, but doable. You need to quickly jump down and take out the flamethrower on the ceiling, then flip gravity to avoid being killed by the flamethrower on the floor. From there, simply shoot both the flamethrower and the turret, and then continue on your way. From here, you'll face off against a moving wall that shoots flames at you. Either jump over the flames or flip gravity to avoid them and constantly attack the wall. You'll eventually kill it and move on to the stage boss. This boss can be a bit difficult. You have to hit his weak point that only spawns once in a while he throws 3 rings at you. 2 standard purple rings and 1 blue homing ring. There's a really easy way to take this guy out. Stand directly under him and fire up. The rings will almost never come straight at you, and the powered up attack will destroy the homing missile before it hits you. Stage 2-1 starts off with an annoying sequence. You have to destroy a flying space pod, then jump between 2 projectiles fired from the rear of the other pods. It takes a lot of careful timing, but you should be able to jump just enough to avoid the shot. After that, you need to make your way past some turrets, not difficult, but then you'll have to jump past crushing doors. Very difficult. There are 2 ways to get by these doors. The first one is to jump carefully. Just enough to trigger the crushing doors, but not enough to jump up to the platform. After you trigger it, quickly jump up to avoid being crushed. The other, more preferred method is to do a full jump and then quickly switch gravity. You'll float up and away from the crushing doors without having to make a double jump. This method comes in very handy later on when you've got to make your way past several crushing doors. Stage 2-2 is relatively easy given the balls-hard platforming you just went through. The only difference on this stage between normal and expert are the turrets that are placed everywhere. Simply take them out and you shouldn't have any problems getting through this one. The second boss is pretty easy if you know what to do. Start off by killing the first laser throwing eyeball thing. You'll probably have to jump up to avoid a shot or 2. After you kill the first eye, walk up to the empty gap left by the monster and shoot up. If you're in the right spot, the other robot laser attacky things will get hit and die. Stage 3-1 is annoying on expert mode because you can't really destroy the conveyor belt obstacles, so you're forced to avoid them. The first part is pretty easy to get through, but you'll need quick reflexes to make it to the end of the stage. Really, all you're going to do is retry this portion until you've mastered the gravity control for getting past the crazy platforming sections. 3-2 isn't too bad, except for the goddamn flying robot bird things. Look, I don't know what they're called, but just look at this mess. It's insane. The worst part is that the robots keep respawning, so you're forced to go through this section by abusing the NES slowdown to avoid bullets and move on. After you somehow manage to get past the flying fish from hell, you'll face off against the stage boss. This guy is ridiculous. First off, he's insanely fast. Second, his floating protective orbs are extremely fast. Third, the damn lasers move faster than in normal mode. Finally, this guy can move diagonally in expert mode. The only way to beat him is to continually jump around the room while attacking him, carefully timing your jumps between opening in the laser gaps. Oh, and I know it doesn't look like it here, but there are actually 4 laser walls on the screen at any given time. Consider it a problem with modern codec compression. The easiest way to beat him takes a lot of luck. You need to gravity jump underneath him and wail away. It takes some luck, but if you're able to pull it off, you're on easy street. Otherwise, you have to avoid him and shoot at him, and it's a long, tedious process. Level 4 is a nightmare. You've got to avoid a whole bunch of flying robots, floating green orbs, robots with axes swinging around it. Oh, and I hope you don't think you can grab the shield and simply avoid getting hit by fire. Oh no, because to get past 4-1, you've got to face off against the single most diabolical section in a game I have ever played. You need to avoid 4 wall-crawling robots by jumping over them. Not a problem, right? Well, the robots get faster every time you jump. When I say fast, I mean really fast. Look at this. Oh yeah, you're gonna die. A lot. You'll need the weapon power-up if you're gonna stay alive. Your best option is to pay attention to one robot and eliminate it as fast as possible. Then avoid the rest of the robots until they finally slow down and come to a stop. Once they're stopped, concentrate fire on one of the robots, then take it out. Now it'll be significantly easier to jump around, and you can kill the other robots without any problems. Once you get past that part, you'll be on stage 4 too, and as long as you've got the weapon power up, getting past this stage isn't too bad, although the flying robots can be annoying. Just remember to flip gravity every so often to avoid being hit on the head by these guys, and you should make it to the stage boss. The pink robot elephant is a pain. He bounces around the room at a crazy speed, and his 2 spider robot pals are insanely difficult to kill. The best method I've found for dealing with this boss is to attack one of the spiders as much as possible, while avoiding the pink elephant and his other spider friend. Once you take one of the spiders out, the second one shouldn't be as difficult to kill. After that, you can simply concentrate your fire on the pink elephant. Stage 5 is full of instant death lasers, and getting through it is a bit difficult. Your best bet isn't to destroy the laser monsters, but to simply ignore them. You'll never outrun the wall of death that's chasing you if you try to kill every enemy here. I only have one piece of advice. If you see a section where it looks like you can duck down and avoid getting shot, chances are that's where you'll have to be in order to avoid being killed. Really, the stage layout explains where you need to go on its own. It's not that each section is hard to figure out, find the safe spot and hang there until the laser stops shooting. It's that the timing required to stay alive requires the skill of a god. I do have one final tip. You can either quickly flip jump your way to safety at the end of 5-2, or you can wait for the wall of death to come by and destroy the laser turrets for you. No matter how you get there, the 5-2 boss is incredibly difficult. He has 3 forms. One shoots lasers at angles, one shoots them straight, but they curve either straight up or straight down, and the third one shoots lasers as a large wall. His final form actually switches between all 3 previous forms, and the shots get even more difficult to avoid. This guy is all about your platforming skills. Despite the puzzle-like nature of the rest of the game, this boss is going to test your twitch reflex skills. Getting past his first form is relatively easy. Simply avoid the lasers and hit him with everything you got. The second form is a bit more difficult. If he shoots a laser from the top of his head, then the laser will curve down. If he shoots it from the bottom, it'll curve up. The easiest way to avoid these lasers is to abuse your gravity controls and simply be on the opposite wall where the laser is going to travel. The third form is really easy to get past. Simply jump between the laser walls or gravity shift away from them. His fourth form is, well, good luck. I'm sure there's a pattern here somewhere, but let's be honest, this guy is unfucking believable. Stage 6 isn't all that much different than its normal mode predecessor. You'll have to gravity shift your way around the place. The only real difference here is the addition of turrets in some inconvenient places. Just be glad this isn't the Japanese version of the game, where the developers decided to put in instant kill barriers on the top and the bottom of the screen. This level is all about your ability to deal with the constantly changing environment. Once you figure out an easy way to keep moving forward, it's pretty simple to make your way to the stage boss. This guy is crazy and will put your jumping skills to the test. The trick here is simple. Bring each floating pod to their one-hit red state, then wait for the little panel at the top of each one to open. Kill all of them in 3 consecutive shots before you land on the floor or get crushed by the ceiling, and you'll win. Level 7, the final level. The level itself is simple, except for the fact that you've got to face every single boss again. It's as if you didn't already know how to beat these guys, and the game just wanted to make absolutely sure you were confident in your abilities. If there's one good thing about this section, it's that if you have to use a continue, you won't have to beat every single boss in a row again. So, if you get up to the wacky, crazy laser transforming boss and die, you won't have to go through 4 other bosses just to get back up to him. The final boss is the easiest boss in the game, on normal mode. On expert, he's a pain in the ass. You need to jump and avoid oncoming fire while trying to destroy the orange orbs, doing all of it within 30 seconds. The only trick here is that you need to carefully time destroying each orb. After you destroy an orb, the boss will move up and fire a new laser. Time it right, and you'll only have to make 1 or 2 jumps per orb. Time it wrong, and there's no amount of jumping that's going to save you from getting destroyed. Keep it up, and eventually... Metal Storm was a great game. Alright, so it had a bad storyline, and the end boss was complete bullshit, but beyond that, it was fantastic. It exploited the NES hardware to its fullest advantage. It had a unique gameplay mechanic, switching up gravity, which was really only seen in like one Mega Man game and only a couple of modern games. It was ahead of its time, but unfortunately was released at the end of the NES's lifetime. Still, there are a lot of other great games we could play, aren't there? You know what? I've got an itch I gotta scratch.